Third Degree continues. Now, these days, politics has as much to do with perception as it does with policy. Marketing experts look at social media and branding and how these can make or break a new political party. There are a myriad of ways to market oneself, and key is social media, the new buzzword in politics. It gives candidates and voters direct access to each other. US President Barack Obama actively used the microblogging site Twitter in both of his election campaigns. In the months leading up to the 2012 election, he tweeted this picture with the cheeky tweet, "This seat is taken." On election day, he even received Twitter endorsements from celebrities. Obama's use of the channel has made way for other politicians to do the same. Closer to home, in the recent Kenyan elections, Uhuru Kenyatta proved to be social media savvy, as East Africa correspondent Robin Creel found.
His rallies, speeches and promotional videos are immediately loaded online.
Dr. Mamphela Ramphele already has a public profile. She has fashioned herself as a powerful voice of integrity in South Africa. But entering the political fray is a completely different matter. She is already using social and online media to interact with potential supporters in an accessible way.
If you go and look at her communication media, if you look at her Twitter and her website, it all feels clean and easy to access, and it feels like it's written in plain language. And I feel like she talks more in plain language than perhaps some of our other politicians do. But I'm also a little confused about, in some instances it's I, in some instances it's we. Her Twitter profile, for example, the party or the platform's Twitter profile talks only about her in its description. And is it an individual or is it a party/platform?
Chartered marketer Heidi Brouwer thinks that although Ramphele is speaking the right language, building the party around one person is risky.
Then the risk is when that individual isn't able to be there, that the value of that product is eroded. So it's always a risk, and is the value of the product or the brand embedded in one human being.
Marketing and communications strategist Clive Simpkins agrees that this is her biggest problem.
This is largely personality based. There's a problem. So I think she's made a massive strategic error. The discussions that we've heard in public now are that the DA were wooing her, and it's been going on for 2 years. She could have had a wonderful base using their infrastructure. And she and Helen, of course, are pretty close. I mean, Helen was the woman as a journalist who blew the whistle on the Steve Biko stuff. So great pity that this, I think, is going to be a bit of a non-starter.
Despite this, there are many in the country who are hungry for an alternative. It was a similar type of hunger that Obama managed to build his 2008 Yes We Can campaign around.
There was a quote that I picked up years ago that said, "The hard stuff is easy, the soft stuff is hard, and the soft stuff is more important than the hard stuff." And essentially, you want people to fall in love with you, and that's what they did with Obama. They fell in love with the way he styled, the way he communicated, the way he messaged, and then they listened to his message and the content of it. And then the thing is that you have to deliver.
But even if Ramphele manages to get people to fall in love with her, Simpkins is concerned she might have left it too late.
If Mamphela was saying, I'm going to contest elections or the next series of elections, 2019 or whatever it might be, that would be viable. But to be looking at next year with where she's currently sitting, if I were a campaign manager or I was somebody in charge of the logistics of Ahang, I would be having a nervous breakdown right now.
If Dr. Ramphele was a man, some argue that reactions would be different.
Shrill, feisty, calling the shots, good. If a guy was like that, nobody would say a word, so I'm afraid it is sexist. If one takes Helen Zille, Helen frequently gets up people's nostrils, and again one has to say, would that be the case if that were a male? And I fear it would not be the case. So we've got to get over this already. We have a terribly patriarchal and indeed sometimes paternalistic attitude towards women trying to do what males do, and yet they are constantly put on trial to, in quotes, prove themselves.
Woman or not, Dr. Ramphele will still have to prove herself. She will go under the media microscope as we head towards the next general election. Image is going to be as important as political policy. Well, it's still well over a year until the 2014 election. Bold words, brave steps from Mamphela, but can she succeed where other parties have failed? We'd like to know what you think. You can fax us on 011-880-8883 or email us on thirddegree@etv.co.za. And you can also converse with us on social media. There is Facebook and Twitter. Do join us again next week for more provocative journalism.